everyone, this is Angela, and welcome to my channel, Angie the ENTJ. Please be sure to like, subscribe, comment, and click on the notifications bell so that you'll know whenever I upload any new content. I know that I have ruffled some feathers in this space about the topic of content creators needing to give credit to those whose concepts they are borrowing in order to create their own content. Okay. The reason why I have said that you all should give content creators credit for their concepts that you are borrowing in order to make your own videos, it can be something as simple as, hey, I was watching so-and-so's channel and this inspired me to react blah blah. Or, something like, I got this idea from so-and-so's channel. Listen, it's not because I'm a little girl on the playground waiting for you to pick me as a seesaw partner or a teeter-totter for my Brits. It's not because my inner child wants to become the cool kid on the playground or in high school, and the more you play with me, the more you interact with me, the more popular I become. Or in other words, it is not because I want or need the validation of content creators with platforms that are more popular than my own. Though it would be nice to have it, it is not the reason why I have stated verbally or typed it even that content creators need to give credit for the concepts that they are borrowing. Okay, it is far from it. Trust me, it's far from it. And by the way, I'm also aware that no one holds a monopoly over the truth. Yes, for instance, when I say that no one holds a monopoly over the truth, for instance, I have used the data from the United Nations Human Development Index, the UNHDI, to explain issues within Blackistan along with data from the World Bank, and I compared Blackistan on a global stage. I've done that. I would say I was probably the first to make videos centered around that. However, that information is available to anyone. As a matter of fact, there is a content creator who is doing the same thing in a similar fashion, and she's making videos about it daily, which is cool with me because she sticks to the truth and she does not have any ulterior motives. So going back to the reason why I, Angie the NTJ, me, the reason why I am saying it, not the reason why you feel the way that you feel when I say it, but the actual reason why I, Angie the ENTJ, the reason why I am saying that you should give credit to content creators when you use their concepts, not just me, but anyone and just in general, is because I understand what is known as the Asch effect, or the tendency for an individual to conform to the consensus of a group rather than remain independent in their own thoughts and observations. It's beyond just being mature and being glad that someone else is disseminating the information. Personally, as far as that goes, I've been at that spot for many years, but it's still bigger than that. It's more like there is a canary in a mine that's not flying back to us. What do I mean when I say there's a canary in a mine that's not flying back to us? For those who don't understand what I'm saying, coal miners, what they would do in the olden days, they would send a canary to fly into the mine. The reason why, because canaries are very sensitive to the air that they're breathing. So if they flew back out towards the miners, it meant that it was safe for the miners to go in and start mining. If the canary didn't fly back out, it meant that it wasn't safe. So it was like a warning to miners in the olden days, don't go in there because you yourself won't survive. So they would send the canary first. So this is what I'm seeing. There's a mine field here and the canary ain't flying back out. Okay. I know I'm beginning to make some folks nervous. The ones who are attempting to manipulate you into becoming another brand of a slave. Okay? So what is it that I, an ENTJ personality type, is seeing that many of you may not realize. Okay? Let's begin by diving into some history and a little bit of science, and then I will go ahead and share with you my perspective on it all and how a demagogue near you is feasting on your lack of direction combined with your own stunted development that even you are not aware of. And I am saying this very respectfully. I'm not wagging my finger at you and saying, ooh, you're stunted. I'm saying that I'm aware of it. My channel is dedicated to you in your own time and on your own terms, awakening up to that and growing beyond it. Okay. But there are people out here, there are groups out here that don't want to see that happen. Okay. And they're, of course, doing all of this for their own personal gains. I mean, why else would they have you hating all real men and keeping you arguing about hair textures and skin tones and whether you're mixed or biracial or what are we calling us now, monoracial? Why would they have you doing that? And nope, don't come for me or I will put you in your place so hard that it will vibrate the Richter scale, because I have been in these spaces since the time of AOL or America Online chat rooms, before it was even called social media, and when Napster was still a new technology, long before MySpace or IMEM. You can't Google or research the insight that I have from actual experience, or you cannot Google the names of the people who I know, and I got receipts. Because see, I was in the background when all of this stuff was going down back in the day, and I knew who was in the trenches with me. So I will intellectually rip everyone to shreds who tries me the way that they ripped the natural hair movement back in the day, which was actually centered on ending the second rendition of Tignon laws. Honey, I'll cover all of that in another video, but today I want to get down to it and say to you to stop nurturing your next demagogue. I am a healthy version of an ENTJ personality. And I can say to you that when we are good, we're good. We're the Margaret Thatchers, we're the Warren Buffetts, we're the Winston Churchills, we're the Angela Merkels, we're even the Avenger, Dr. Strange, okay? However, when we are bad, when an ENTJ is bad, oh, we're horrible. We're the worst of the worst. Some infamous ENTJ personalities, Stalin, Hitler, Mussolini, Putin, and even Darth Vader. All of these personalities are ENTJs. And as a person who knows what it looks like to be healthy, because I'm the healthy version, I'm the empowering version, okay, I know what my opposite looks like. And let me tell you something. You all have demagogues in your midst. So what is the Asch effect? And what the heck does this have to do with Avengers, Darth Vader? What does this all have to do with content creators getting credit if you decide to use their concepts? Okay. Simply put, when an individual is alone and they see something, let's just say like a cup, that individual, when asked, they are more likely to say what that something or what that cup is, whatever it is. They can look at it and say, oh, this is a cup. They are more likely to do that than when they are within a group. For instance, you see this line here on the left? Now, you're by yourself. So what I want you to do, say to yourself, which line on the right does it mostly resemble? Okay? Most of you are going to pick the line above C on the right, and that is the correct response. However, the Asch effect will show up whenever that same individual is placed into a group of people. More than 70% of individuals, when they are placed in front of an obvious truth, they will agree with the group, even if the group is lying and the individual, such as yourself, knows that it's either a lie or at a bare minimum, that individual may doubt what it is. They will just go along with the group. You know who also knows this fact? You know who also knows that human beings has the tendency to be affected by the Asch effect when they're in a group? A demagogue. And for those of you who do not know the term, a demagogue is a political leader who seeks support by appealing to the desires and prejudices of ordinary people rather than by using rational argument. The demagogues who will play upon your emotions use your own ignorance as a way to blindfold you and will use your collective power and resources to pretty much basically enslave you all over again, but this time beneath a different label. And how do they do it? The same way that toxic patriarchs have done it. They surround you with their Confederates, not the stars and bars Confederates from the U.S. Civil War, but the actual definition of Confederates, which is just basically another name for accomplices. The demagogue will have the Confederates yelling a lie in your presence while knowing that there is at least a 70% chance that you will just simply follow along with the group due to the Asch effect. The Asch effect within a group prevents nuanced and rational views from being expressed. Likewise, when the audience is prevented from having access to the source that was used to create the content, it is essentially making that individual conform to the group instead of giving them the opportunity to use their own freedom to form their own independent thoughts, which makes them ripe and ready to become brainwashed by a demagogue. Most of you who view my videos do not intend to brainwash people. I'm certain of that. However, our collective defense against those who will is to disperse the information too far and too wide for a demagogue to exploit. So let me show you a video of the Asch line test, and you will be able to see the Asch effect with your own two eyes. So let's watch the experiment here. It's about 5 minutes so that we can all be on the same page, and I will return with the rest of my commentary.
The Asch experiment is one of psychology's oldest and most popular pieces of research. A volunteer is told that he's taking part in a visual perception test. What he doesn't know is that the other participants are actors, and he's the only person taking part in the real test, which is actually about group conformity.
Please begin. The experiment you will be taking part in today involves the perception of line length. Your task will be simply to look at the line here on the left and indicate which of the 3 lines on the right is equal to it in length. So, for example, if you
The actors have been told to match the wrong lines. The volunteer will be monitored to see if he gives the correct answer or if he goes along with the opinion of the group and gives the wrong answer. In the first test, the correct answer is 2.
1. 1. 1. 2.
1.
Once again, the correct answer is 2.
3. 3. 3. 3.
3.
The Asch experiment has been repeated many times, and the results have been supported again and again. We will conform to the group. Again, we're very social creatures. We're very much aware of what the people around us think. We want to be liked. We don't want to be seen to rock the boat, so we will go along with the group. Even if we don't believe what people are saying, we'll still go along.
1. 1. 1.
1.
Group dynamics is one of the most powerful forces in human psychology.
1. 1.
Okay, I'm back. So the 5th dude was the real guinea pig in this experiment because he did not know that he was surrounded by Confederates or accomplices who were paid to give the wrong answer on purpose so that all could see how he would react. And how did he react? He conformed. The subject did not know that the Confederates were paid actors, just like many of you do not know when you are being surrounded by Confederates. Okay, so let's go into a bit of history here. Solomon Asch was a psychologist who conducted experiments on conformity, or basically what it will take to urge someone like you to fit into a group, or what it will take to urge someone like you to be independent in your thoughts and stand alone, even when others are conforming, even when others are pressuring you. What is it going to take? More often than not, people will conform even though deep down inside they know the truth. They won't say it, and it's because of two main reasons. Let's talk about the first reason. See, I know I'm making some people nervous now. Yes, and I intend to do so for those who want to enslave you and brainwash you and do all those other things. I want them to be nervous, but I want you to be knowledgeable, okay? So the first reason is known as normative influence. Basically put, people just want to fit in and be a part of the in crowd, you know? So if everybody is doing this, I'm going to do it. If everybody is doing that, I'm going to do that, okay? And part of the reason why people want to be a part of the in crowd, part of the reason for normative influence is avoiding what is known as peer punishment. This is something that happens to me a lot, by the way. So I get peer punishment a lot. Don't worry, I'm used to it. Peer punishment is what happens when you don't conform, when you do not conform, when you hold the line and you don't fit in and everybody is going left. You're saying, no, I'm going to stay over here on the right. So what tends to happen is that the group punishes you for not going along with their idea of what is correct, even when the group's idea of what is correct may not be true. They'll punish you. Okay, so that's normative influence, you know, being part of the in crowd, and why people want to be a part of the in crowd and go along with the flow and fit in is more often than not, they do it to avoid peer punishment. So that's the first reason for conformity. Okay, the second reason why people conform is called informative influence, or the idea that the group knows better than the individual. So even when the truth is obvious to the individual, if the group is saying that it is something different, that individual will also repeat whatever the group is saying because they are doubting themselves, or they just don't want to appear to be wrong. Okay. So informative influence is one of the reasons why I've had to let things cool off before I fired up this video for you all to see. There are some things that you do not know about yourselves and you have yet to discover, and people are using your own misguided ignorance as a weapon against you. This is the reason why I said that you should use nature as your guide. It is so that you can grow internally without the influence of someone who is trying to exploit you. By observing nature, there are no humans around to tell you what or what not to believe. You just use the senses that nature has given you. Okay, when I said to use nature as a guide for you, I did not say to rely on someone else who may have ulterior motives against you. They want to block your own personal development, because if you are in alignment with the truth, then it will enable you to see them for who they truly are. You have to accept the truth even when it's inconvenient. You have your own senses. It is time for you to let go of your attachments to group approval and use your own internal wisdom. You will not be popular. Trust me, I know. I've been me for a very long time. I've been an ENTJ all my life. I've not been that popular. You know, I say something now, it takes 10 years for people to catch on. That's usually, you know, what happens with me. And then I become popular in 10 years. So trust me, I know you won't be popular when you hold the line and not conform. I am the one who will hold the line even when there are thousands of people trying to tell me to do otherwise, because I align myself with the truth that is based in empirical data, which is why I am also encouraging all of you to do it as well. I'm also encouraging you to understand that there are nuances. Nuances are a part of life. Everything is not black and white. There are gray areas, and there are also plenty of colors. Beware of people who will only accept you when you fit snugly into one of their black and white checkered boxes. Also, don't be in a hurry to stuff yourself into one of their boxes. Nature did not create boxes, mankind did. So with that said, whether you like it or not, the masculine will exist because it is a complement, not an opposite, but a complement to the feminine. No different than day existing along with the night, water existing along with fire. The masculine is going to exist with the feminine. The goal is not to get rid of the masculine, because doing so makes you no better than those whose goals are to get rid of the feminine. In nature, there is a tendency of one male being born for every female across all species, not just animals, plants, and other types of life in the different kingdoms, fungi, you name it. It was once like this for human beings, but it was toxic patriarchy that valued the male over the female, and as a result, we now have a surplus of more than 70 million men on the planet without a girl or a woman to pair them with. And wait a minute, take a breath. Shout out to Dawson and Denise. I watch them sometimes. Take a breath. I am not attempting to push heteronormativity with what I just said. I'm just stating statistical facts. Now nature has lowered the boom on toxic patriarchy globally. It has pulled the rug from beneath them, and they are trying to become your next blindfold in an effort to keep themselves in power over you while draining you of your labor and your resources. This is why I am saying that the goal is not to get rid of the masculine. The goal is to not allow the toxic elements that use masculinity to manipulate you and your femininity into hosting their venomous parasites. The goal is to also expose the elements within the feminine that are prone to enabling the toxic within the masculine so that it can be corrected. See, you all did a good job pulling the rug from beneath the ashy feet of derelict males of Blackistan. And on this channel, we make a difference between males and men. So I'm not talking about real men. I'm just speaking of the derelict males of Blackistan. And listen, that was only the first revolutionary step. Okay. Great job and wonderful. I'm applauding you. Okay. You put them into their place firmly in the field with males of other groups where they will either sink or learn to swim. However, if you notice, it not only affected Pookie and Ray Ray, but it put broke Boom Quita out here in these streets too. Because she was benefiting as well from your own demise. Pookie and Ray Ray's rate of deleting their own relatives, such as their parents and their own siblings, those rates have exploded because instead of mooching off of you and then sending you to meet your maker after you told them to get out of your house, okay, the problem now is back where it originated, with his own family. And now they are stuck dealing with him and his derelict ways instead of you.
New at 6 tonight, a Coweta County father tells deputies he confronted his son about having a gun in his pocket. And he says rather than turn it over, his son opened fire on him.
It was all caught on the family's home security camera, as you saw there. Fox News.
And don't get me wrong, I'm empathetic. It's sad that it's happening to Pookie's relatives. But thankfully, you still have your life intact. But if you're being honest, broke Bonquita, the one who was getting her nails done from the money that Pookie would steal from old people on fixed incomes, broke Bonquita is out here having a hard time because when you pulled the rug on Pookie, it knocked broke Bonquita down too.
And caught on video, a woman throwing more than $2,000 worth of meat into the trunk of her car. Temple police say she stole the meat from an H-E-B in the area on Good Friday. Police say an employee tried to stop the woman and her accomplice from leaving. The two, they're still on the run. Police are hoping this cell phone video will help them make an arrest soon.
But what you do not see, and here's where I come in, and here's why I say you need to give content creators credit. Okay? What you do not see is who was also beneath that rug that you pulled from beneath the ashy feet of Daquan and them. Who was lying in the cracks of the wooden floor, unswept. You see, because down there is where you find your demagogues. And there are both men and women down in those cracks, by the way. The reason why I know this is because I found out the hard way during the natural hair movement, which was blossoming beyond the issues surrounding our hair and into other facets of life, such as dating and divestment, before we saw that movement being turned upside freaking down. And I'm speaking from experience, more than 25 years of experience. Most of you do not know what this phase looks like, which is why I'm sharing it with you. For most of you, you are seeing for the first time things turn upside down in Blackistan like never before. So this for you may be the first major change, but I'm telling you it's not. It's probably about the fourth or fifth from my end of things. So as a result, most of you you haven't seen what this side of things look like, okay? And this is why I'm sharing it with you. You see, the demagogues have to act fast because they know that if you were bold enough to pull the rug from beneath Pookie, that the next thing you're going to do is sweep, Swiffer, vacuum, and mop all of them out as well. The rug that you pulled was their clothing, and now they are naked. So what they have to do is find another way to hide their nakedness. And this is when they rear their ugly heads in your movement. They appear to be supporters at first, but no, I'm telling you, they are Trojan horses. They appear to be a gift to you, but as soon as you let your guard down, they will have their army storming into your territories or stampeding on the progress of your movement. They will take it over, remove you out of it, and then reinstall a Pookie of another name. That's how you got your Brother Polites, your Nature Boys, and all the other nignogs, okay? Those old and ashy Negroes were not actually into African spirituality and living organically. It was a front. You know why? Because we were talking about that 25 years ago in the natural hair movement. It was a female who came into that movement and let these ashy feet dummies into the space. And it's about to happen, and it's about to happen again, and if you're not careful. Okay? If you do not cling to the truth, if you do not open your eyes, if you follow a demagogue, you'll be worse off than what you could have ever imagined. And that's why I'm pushing out this video. Open up your eyes. Because see, generally speaking, a demagogue rises up after the revolution that they never started. They weren't in the trenches in the beginning. They weren't taking shots. They weren't the ones down there getting their hands dirty. They usually come afterwards, okay? After there's been a fundamental shift, that's when they come over, disguised as your supporters, okay? They never start a revolution. They just come in its aftermath to become the next new oppressor. That's the real reason why we are sitting here nearly a quarter of a century later into the 21st century, okay? And we are still talking about biracial versus mixed versus light skin versus dark skin, 4C hair versus non-4C hair types, and all of the other ignorance that keeps us at one another's throats instead of fighting the real enemies of our own progress. Black women were already swirling and dating more than 25 years ago, and the movement was growing before the demagogues came in back then like Trojan horses and blew it up to bits and pieces. I'm speaking from experience. I am speaking from experience. We are living in a time when nature is lowering the boom on the toxic version of patriarchy worldwide. For thousands of years, the oppressive systems put into place by the abusive, toxic, self-serving, and self-centered version of patriarchy have created an an imbalance that is so severe that the planet is literally burning up. And if it's not burning up, it's being flooded out. You yourselves, whether you realize it or not, are still operating according to a patriarchal script. Womanhood is multifaceted, and most women on the planet have been curated by patriarchy only to become sensual and sexual in the earlier parts of her life. In her 20s and her 30s, maybe parts of her 40s, right? While being nurturing and sacrificial until the day she takes her last breath. This is what patriarchy created. And this is why so many of you are codependent and tend to attract the narcissistic partners, which also makes you the perfect breeding ground for the next generation of demagogues. You see, women are so much more than the aspect of our lives that create and maintain families. Yes, we are nurturing and mothering and sensual and reproductive, yes. But we're also the owners of the economy. An economy does not exist without women. We can see the big picture. We are highly intuitive. The average woman can see something happen in 20 years from now with ease and plan accordingly. We're highly spiritual and innovative. These are just a few of the facets of womanhood, and patriarchy had to prune that away from us, had to prune our natural born abilities away from the average woman herself while she was still a girl so that they can remain in power. They had to make you lesser so that they can appear to be more. Now globally, they hear a beast roaring in the background, and that sound is getting louder and louder as that beast is getting closer and closer. And that beast is called reality. And that beast is hunting after all who upheld toxic patriarchy because they are getting the consequences now. And instead of being the good little captains of patriarchy that they should be and going down with their ship, instead of being accountable for the mess that they've caused, you know what they are doing? They're saying, here, beast. Here, it's the woman's fault. The women did it. It's because they're modern and that they have an education and that they own their property. That's why the world is burning up or flooding. That's why multiple species of animals are going extinct daily. And that's why the glaciers are melting and the water is going further underground. It's the women's fault. See, that's what they're doing when they're putting it off on you, okay? When the reality is that when nature smells blood, nature is out for the kill. Essentially, they're trying to put a target on your backs instead of taking the strike that they deserve. So you see, clothing themselves in your movement and playing on your ignorance and your stunted development, that was caused on purpose, by the way, by patriarchy, and I'm saying that respectfully. That is their only hope of not only avoiding the consequences of their flawed cultures, religions, politics, unfair laws, etc., and the combination thereof. This is their only chance to escape while continuing to use your labor and your resources. They know that all they have to do is surround a few of you with their confederates. Going back to the Asch line test. And get you to agree with them the way that the Confederates in the Asch line test got the innocent subject to agree with them even when they were not truthful. And a demagogue knows if they do it enough times with enough people, then they will have an army filled with women like yourselves who are brainwashed and doing their biddings. And they will always use the us versus them, making you the in group or the us, and making all others the outliers or the out group or the them. You see, Hitler did it by using poor Germans versus those who were different while stuffing the different people into concentration camps and committing one of the worst human atrocities on the planet. Napoleon Bonaparte did it after the French revolted against the ruling classes and beheaded their own monarchy. A few years later, they had an emperor reigning over them. Vladimir Putin is doing it now. And even Arnold Schwarzenegger, whose father actually fought for the Nazis, came out in an attempt to influence Russian soldiers not to go along with their demagogue.
As a longtime friend of the Russian people, I hope that you will hear what I have to say. I know that your government has told you that this is a war to denazify Ukraine. Denazify Ukraine? This is not true. Ukraine is a country with a Jewish president, I might add, whose father's 3 brothers were all murdered by the Nazis. You see, Ukraine did not start this war. Neither did nationalists or Nazis. Those in power in the Kremlin started this war. This is not the Russian people's war.
Arnold Schwarzenegger lived through and saw the aftermath of the demagogue in his father's drunkenness and domestic violence towards his mother. No different than what I witnessed in the aftermath of the demagogue and their undoing of the accomplishments of the natural hair movement. They undid the very unity that was unbelievably achieved through allowing everyone's voice to be heard and seeing the validity in their own accounts. The Russians currently believe that the Ukraine is to blame for their problems, for instance, because of the Asch effect. Okay? But if they were not influenced by that, they would begin to understand that it was the years and years of war around the world that had decimated the Russian population so severely that it created a gender imbalance where there are only 86 men for every 100 women. Yes, in the country of Russia, there is an overpopulation of women. But it's not like that in the rest of the world. And since a woman is a woman, no matter where she's from, Russian women naturally are migrating away via marriage. Because who wants to share a dingaling? A heterosexual woman is going to want a monogamous marriage. She don't want to have to share her dingaling with somebody else. So guess what? Russian women are migrating away via marriage, and this has led to a demographic crisis in their country. So to distract away from their lack of manpower and their population decline due to migration, they conveniently blamed the Ukraine. No different than when Hitler blamed the Jews and when males blamed women. Who are you about to allow to do it to you? Open your eyes and use the senses that nature has given you. Who was over here encouraging you to rise up and be your best? They may not have been perfect in your eyes. This is what you call nuance, by the way. But they had nothing to gain or to lose by telling you the truth. For an example, Crystal Swirls told you can be a kept woman like her. Okay? Pretty Black Magic, she stays putting out the truth of Blackistan so that you're not sweet-talked back into a new brand of slavery by a Pookie or a Ray Ray. You see them all day, every day. Pretty Black Magic stays putting out what these people are doing. Now, this is going to hurt some of your feelings and make you feel some kind of way. Chloe _ y'all took issue with her for promoting a traditional way of life where you are the prize, you are financially stable, and that you are living in luxury. You disqualified her because she was not identical to you and your sentiments, but she was there in the beginning, at least showing you that it can be done differently than the way that you were doing it with Pookie and Ray Ray, and that you were able to win. That's what nuanced is, and that's fine. What she did not do is force you to become like her. She was just showing you how she did it. Sort of like, man, I see you eating out of the trash can. Let me at least show you how to eat off a plate. Food you didn't have to dig out of a dumpster. Let me show how you can get served on a plate. That's all she was doing. Okay? You take the good and leave the rest. Cerebral is another one. Been on here for years and years on behalf of the betterment of Black women. She has views on submission and polygamy that I personally don't agree with. But you know what? That's her nuance. It's okay not to like 100% of what somebody does. Okay? Take the good and leave the bad. You see, part of being totally free as an individual is giving others room to enjoy freedom in their own way. And that is the case with some other content creators well as people who are not content creators but participate in the upliftment of women, specifically Black women, in different ways, as well as the upliftment of the community in general. When I say the community, I'm just saying the things that women are interested in general. And women are going to be interested primarily in those people that are closest to them, their own families, which include men and women, boys and girls, okay? Their own children, and dare I say it, their spouses, if that applies. And no, I'm not over here pushing marriage or heteronormativity. I'm just putting it out there, okay? So when you're totally free, genuinely free, then it enables you to give people the room to enjoy freedom in their own way. And if their way is flawed, then you have to give them the space to see that in their own way. The easiest way to prove a fool wrong is by letting them have their ways. So if you think that they're a fool, then let them have their way. Let their decisions prove them wrong. That's the best way of convincing them, if that's how you feel. I'm not, all the people that I just named, by the way, I'm not calling you fools, but I'm just making that point, okay? You see, every one of my videos includes a disclaimer towards the beginning to say basically that I'm not here to convince you to be like me. Trust me, I do not need a clone. I'm just sharing my perspective in order to give you a glimpse into a different way of seeing things. And then you just go on and do your thing with that. Why? It's because I know what it's like to truly be free and living as a fully actualized woman. It is only from this standpoint that you can embrace the truth in its purest form, even when it's inconvenient. And know that even though the truth is inconvenient, it's not against you. But it's for you to use your faculties to make a better way for yourself when it's necessary. Stay nuanced. Allow others to be nuanced and use your own internal power and avoid demagogues who will exploit you for their own personal gains. Give content creators credit for the concepts that you borrow from them so that it will weaken the demagogue's ability to exploit the vulnerable, okay? So that's all I have to say for now. Please be sure to like, subscribe, comment, and click on the notifications bell so you'll know whenever I upload any new content. Take care until next time.